Wow. It's pretty cool because what I get to do is, look at some new faces in here, and many of you have become really great friends. And then I have people at a personal level. I mean, we know each other through business, but you're meeting my friends. And you're going to continue to meet some more. I talked to one that a few folks in here have met one time in Canada a little while ago, and they're going to show up here sometime soon too. So, but you're going to find there's a common theme of them all. They perform at high levels. You know, there's another common theme about them too. It's been a bumpy fucking ride for them. Okay? And they don't quit. They don't quit. From Todd. What did you guys think of Todd? Pretty impressive? So, my man here, Ryan, I loved it. It was so great, man. Because he even said this, man, he's got a rough voice. He's got a rough background. He's got a big heart. He's one of the smartest dudes I know. And I love it. He just gave I got to take notes from my man here. Two-sentence bio. CEO and 4-time best-selling author who's unafraid to take action. He has coached thousands of people to overcome the force of average. He's a man on a mission to help millions of people become the greatest version of themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce you to my brother, my friend, hardcore closer, Ryan Stewman.
You stream this for me?
Oh, yeah.
Who's somebody who can hold this for us?
Can you stream that for him? Yeah.
There you go. It's live. Just hold it up there, facing on me. Thank you, John. Boy, y'all some low energy ass people this morning. Where the hell's the energy in this room, man? He just told y'all how I've made about $20 million and y'all didn't even clap, man. We're gonna have to change that shit immediately. Couple disclaimers with me. I don't fuck around, so if you don't like bad language, you might as well leave now. I don't cuss a lot, but I get excited. I'm full of energy. And listen, if the word fuck offends you, you're probably old. All right, second thing. I'm going to tell y'all the truth today. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not here to make friends with you guys. I'm here to help you truly transform your life. I got an hour and a half up here, okay? And I'm going to make it very impactful. But we're going to start this off the right way. Let me ask you a question. What does being elite mean to you? Being at the top? What about you, sir?
Being the best person I can be.
Being the best person you can be. Here you go. One more. What does being elite mean to you, sir?
Being the top level and being surrounded by your influences, top people.
Notice nobody really gave a specific answer. No offense, but nobody gave a long-winded specific answer. So you want to know what it feels like to be elite? What it means to be elite? No? Fuck, one of y'all? What the fuck, people? Right? Can we get a round of Red Bulls of this bitch? What is going on in here? Come on, folks. Do you want to know what it's like to be elite or no? Yeah. You want to be some average motherfuckers? You want to be some winners? Stand up. Let's play a game. Now listen, I'm going to ask one thing and one thing only, and I will call your ass out, and I am the clapback king, so let's don't fuck around this morning, all right? I'm going to ask you to play all in with me for the next 10 minutes only. No exceptions, no excuses. Listen to every single hypnotic word that comes out of my mouth because I'm going to hypnotize you guys today. I've been trained by the world's greatest hypnotist to change lives. That's what I do. I'm not a salesman. They call me the hardcore closer because when I started this shit, all I knew was sales. Okay? And I'll explain all that later. But I want you guys to truly have a definition of elite and know what elite looks like. But here's the disclaimer. Some of you are going to be crying when we're done with this. And that's okay. Some of y'all tough-ass grown men are going to be crying because I know I cried the first time it happened too, so it's okay. Right? But we're going to play all in for the next 10 minutes, and I'm going to transform your life before I even start teaching you guys something. All right? Y'all ready for that? Yes. Thank you. Yeah, there we go. All right. So close your eyes and do not open them until I ask you. Do not open them no matter what. Nobody will touch you. Nobody will hurt you. You're in a safe place. Close your eyes. Do not open them until I'm done and tell you to open them, okay? Give you guys a second. Keep them closed. Now I want you to follow my instructions to a T, no exceptions. This will transform your life if you stick and follow my words. First of all, I want you to turn your head to the right with your eyes closed. Do not open your eyes at all during this entire exercise. It will ruin it for you and everybody else in the room. I want you to turn your head over your right shoulder and leave it there. Standing next to you is the most elite version of yourself. Think about that for a second. Picture what the most elite version of yourself must look like. Let's start at the feet. Are your nails painted? Your feet shaved? Move your way up to the calves. Are your calves ripped like Cheplak, or are they normal? Your legs hairy or shaved? And everybody's got a different answer. It's okay. Whatever pops in your head is absolutely 100% okay. Just go with it. Make your way up to your quads. What does your legs look like? Your midsection, right? Do you have a stomach? Do you have a six-pack of abs? Your shoulders, are they broad? Your biceps. Imagine the most elite version of yourself standing next to you naked. Do you have hair? Do you have a beard? What does that person look like? If you were to be the best version of yourself, what does it look like? Now let's dress you up. If you were the most elite version of yourself, not just in business, but in life in general, what kind of shoes would you wear? Would you be wearing slacks or jeans? Would you wear a skirt? What about your shirt? Are you wearing a suit and tie? Or are you wearing a t-shirt? Imagine if you were the most elite version of yourself. How would you dress? You would dress that perfect body. How would you dress? How would you show up every day? Here's the second thing. If that person's showing up genetically correctly, and it's the most elite version of yourself genetically, and you're the most elite version of yourself in how you dress, think of how your financial situation would be. Imagine the most elite version of yourself not worrying about bills, not worrying about your next recruit, not worrying about the next paycheck, the next deal that you close, the next brokerage you go to, the next person that comes into your circle. Everything's taken care of. You know why? Because you become the most elite version of yourself. You're making more money than you've ever dreamed in your life. But what's better than making more money is the relationships that you have. The people that are in your life, they look up to you. They admire you. You set the example as a leader. You're the most elite version of yourself. That means people are attracted to you like a magnet. People rely on you for inspiration. People rely on you for motivation. Imagine what that must feel like to have all the money you could ever need. Then it may be for some of you hundreds of thousands. It may be millions for others. It may just be $1 or $2 for some of you. But imagine having all the money you need and all the love and admiration from the people around you to go along with that. Imagine what you would look like. Imagine how you would feel. Imagine the relief of anxiety, the relief of stress, the increase of love, the increase of confidence, the increase of certainty. Imagine you're the most elite version of yourself in every area of your life, in your relationships, in your genetic, in the way that you think, be, and do life, and in the job. Imagine that. Now, with your eyes closed still and your head still tilted right, I want you to look down where those feet were when I first spoke. And I want you to take one step to the right and plant your feet where those feet were right now, everybody. Keep your eyes closed. Take one step to the right, plant your feet. Now turn your head towards me. That's who God made you to be. That's who you can be. That's your potential. That's who you were created on this planet to be. I want you to revel in that. I want you to feel what it's like, and you know it's possible because you just had the vision of elite. Now open your eyes. Now you guys see who you're supposed to be, how you can be it. You have a clear definition of what it feels like to be elite. It's a good feeling, right? It's a good feeling. Y'all can have a seat. Oftentimes, we want these things, but we don't know what the hell they are. And there's this concept I'm going to share with you guys called the force of average. And the force of average plays big tricks on us. One of the tricks is distraction. The other trick is being very, very vague. We say we want to be rich. What does that mean? We say we want to be loved. What does that mean? We say we want to be in great shape. What does that mean? We say these things that are very vague because that gives us an excuse, hence the coins. That gives us an excuse not to become that person. But see, every one of you just had a vision of who you can. I didn't give you that vision. That vision came from, that's a divine assignment on your life. And I can tell you, every time I go through the exercise with you guys, every time I do it, I know I can do more. Do you guys feel that way too? You feel like you're not living up to who you were called to be? It just gives us an option and a definition to head that way. Now, I'm going to help you today in business and in life. But business is only 25% of life. And I'm going to teach you something that I own the G code. I own the trademark for it. I'm the OG founder of the G code, right? All these rappers have been rapping about it forever. None of them are businessmen. They never decided to trademark it. Well, guess who's a businessman? So I'm going to teach you this today. And if you'll live by this code on this planet, it's much like the algorithm on Facebook or social media. There's a code and an algorithm that runs this planet. And it's designed to keep you buried in that news feed of life where people don't see you. People don't know who you are. Where you're distracted. You know, it's like he said, the dog that chases two hares keeps neither one of them. You know, or catches neither one of them. And so today I'm going to help you beat something I call the force of average. I own that trademark as well. You're more than welcome to use it, share this concept with anybody. It changes lives. September 13th of last year, for the third time in my life, they've tried to kill me. I was with some extremely, anybody ever seen like the mesothelioma commercials? Right, none of y'all, where the fuck do y'all live? All right, y'all got to get with it, man. I don't play, I will call your ass out, I told you. We're going to play all in today. So my friend's lawyer, $3 billion in settlements, mesothelioma, transvaginal mesh, all that fun shit, you know. And it's okay if you don't raise your hand. Does anybody know anybody with fucking mesothelioma? Right, like what the fuck is that stuff? But anyway, apparently a lot of people got it because he's rich as shit. We took his private jet to his land, and I'm not even making this up. My friend and Jeff Bezos own a whole city together. That's what fuck you money really looks like, right? You're like, well, I own this city. Well, with the guy from Amazon, of course. But, and it's not like they are partners. Jeff owns about 3/4 of the city, and my friend owns the other quarter of the city. Matter of fact, how many of you have seen that picture where whatever her name is, AOC is down there crying on the border next to the fence and stuff like that? Yeah, that's not the border. That's my buddy's land. That's about 45 minutes from the border. He's so smart that he rented out the back 500 acres of his land to the government because the government's stupid and they will fucking throw money away like idiots. And so they built him a landing strip for his private jet so that people like President Trump could fly into his property. So he got a free landing strip for his jet because he rented that stuff out in the back to the government. So September 13th, September 14th, for those of you that aren't from Texas, that's opening season day for dove hunting. And so September 13th, I fly down there with a bunch of billionaires, like Illuminati people. I'm serious. Like the guy that wrote Tracy Morgan the check for $150 million when that Walmart truck hit him, that guy was with me. Just high-end people. Definitely the poorest person in the plane, and I'm not poor. And we weren't the only plane. And as a matter of fact, when we landed in the plane, we were going to get up in a helicopter and go shoot hogs. That's what we were going to do. That's how rich these fuckers are. And I go down there, I get off the plane, or the jet rather. I get off the jet, get onto the bus, because it's a long ride, because they own about 4,000 acres. It's a long ride to the mansion and cabins that they have set up for us from where we landed. As soon as we get there, there's ladies working behind the bar. They pour me a drink, first drink, grab the drink, hop on a Razor with my friend's daughter. She's about 13, and she's driving, you know, the Razor ATV things. She's driving, we're driving down the street, and she's showing us some stuff. She says, here, she's not gonna hunt, and she says, here's where you guys wanna set up your stuff to get the hogs to come out tonight so you go shoot them, right? So I'm checking, scoping the land out and everything. She goes back, drink number 2, get back, which obviously I'm not drunk, but drink number 2, just for the story. Get back into the Razor, I'm driving this time, okay? I grab a guy that's a $1.5 billion per year producer, and damn near killed him too. Thank God he's alive. That'd have been a fucking terrible lawsuit. But anyway, grab this guy. We get on the Razor together, and I'm gonna go show him where we're gonna get the pilot to go and hover over. So we go about 2 miles through the woods there. I kid you not, folks, I saw a zebra. Again, that's how rich these people are. And it was actually 3 zebras. I looked over, and I'm like, oh, goddamn, there's a zebra over there, you know? And before I looked back, the Razor flipped 2 times. I didn't have a helmet on. I didn't have a seatbelt on. I'd never been in a car crash, folks. I got 4-wheeler. I own the fastest 4-wheeler that they make production-wise and the fastest sports car that they make production-wise, and I'd never been in an accident, ever. I got a Lamborghini, a McLaren. I have fast cars. I've never been in an accident my entire life. I have a 700R Raptor, a 4-wheeler. Never been in an accident my entire life, and that son of a bitch flipped over twice. And the bad news about it was since I didn't have a seatbelt on, flip number one, thank God, the dude that was the $1.5 billion producer, he didn't have a seatbelt on either. We're both clearly idiots. He didn't have a seatbelt on either, and so he flipped, when it flipped that side first, on the passenger side first, he came right out. Oh, not me. It shot me up, shot me down, shot me up, and shot me 20 feet in the air. I landed on my fucking neck. Yeah. From 20 feet in the air, after being hit twice. The next part of this story, some of y'all are going to go here and go, you know what, I like that guy until you started lying. Because you're not going to believe this shit. Matter of fact, you know how a fairy tale starts in the north versus a fairy tale told in the south? In the north, fairy tales start with once upon a time, long, long ago. In the south, they start with y'all ain't going to believe this shit. I broke my neck, my C6 and C7. For those of you who don't know, motherfuckers don't walk after that happens. Nobody. When I say nobody, nobody. You break your C6 and C7 neck, you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Let me tell you what happened next. I broke my arm in 2 places, and I broke my neck in 2 places. I don't remember this, but it's on video. I got up, pushed the razor over, grabbed my friend, put him in it, and drove 2 miles back up the street with a broken neck and a broken arm on a razor with only 3 wheels. I don't know how the fuck we made it there. It only had 3 wheels. That's how fucked up I was. I didn't even realize that I had a broken neck. I didn't realize that the thing only had 3 wheels on it. I'm literally running on the front, the 3 wheels, and drove about 1.5 miles, 2 miles back to the cabin. When I show up, that's the last thing I remember. When I show up there, apparently everybody's like, this idiot, this drunken idiot. Well, he's driving the razor with 3 wheels, and my neck was bent over sideways and my arm was hanging off. They said, Stewman, we're going to put you in a care flight. And that was the last words I heard. I woke up, and the first time I ever rode in a helicopter, I don't remember it. I woke up in the hospital about 8 hours later, and this is what the doctor told me. He said, Mr. Stewman, we regret to inform you, but after doing the MRI that we did, it's most likely that you're going to be a paraplegic. You're never going to walk again. And I went, y'all tripping, man. I got shit to do. I'm supposed to be hunting hogs tonight. Like, I didn't even realize what was going on. And they said, no, you're going to be a paraplegic. And when I moved my leg, you could have heard a gasp all the way to Wyoming from San Antonio, Texas. I went to the neurologist, right? The person that works on your neck. He happens to be a friend of mine and a client. He's never seen it in his entire life. I went there, and I didn't even require surgery. Nothing. Just last week, I put 245 pounds on my back, did a set of 10 like it wasn't shit on my neck. I'm back. But I had to lay in bed for 3 months. All I could do was get up to use the restroom, get up to eat, and get up to shower. Now let me ask you a question. What happens in your business if you can't show up for 3 months? What if you can't make expired phone calls for 3 months? What if you can't go out on listing appointments for 3 months? What if you can't recruit agents for 3 months? What would happen in your business? 99% of us are like 1 to 2 months away from bankruptcy if we don't bring income in. That's just how it is. And that's this room. Let's just say 90% of this room, 99.9% of the world. And I'm going to tell you guys what saved my business. And listen, these are all facts. I'm going to help you out, and what John was saying up here is legit. He's exactly right. But I'm going to show you what saved my business, and that's called making power moves. For a long time, I've been making something I call power moves. So I'm going to teach you a concept today of why my life was saved and why I'm still here. And like I said, they tried to kill me 3 times. I've overdosed on cocaine. They tried to kill me when I was in prison, and they tried to kill me just last year. And by they, I mean the enemy. You know, it's always my fault. I'll take personal responsibility for everything. And some of y'all are going, wait, did he just say prison? Yeah, that's another story for another event. But it's all in a book. So I lived a life of ups and downs. When I was 5 years old, my family was balling. You know, most people don't get on stage and tell you about their rich family. I'm going to tell you all about mine. My family was balling. My grandfather was a banker in the 80s. Any of y'all remember what banking was like in the 80s? Deposit $1, get $1.25. It wasn't nothing like this 0.6 APY that they got this year, around these days. Back then, there was double-digit return rates. If you had money in the bank, you were making big money, which means the banks were making even more money. My grandfather was a banker on my mother's side. My other grandfather was an entrepreneur. He owned a glass factory. Matter of fact, my other grandfather's the guy that invented the third shift. He was a consultant for Johnson & Johnson, and the problem was the people were working 12-hour shifts, and it was wearing their ass out. They were trying to keep up with production. This was back before labor laws and minimum wage and all that stuff. It was wearing their ass out. My grandpa came in there and said, well, what if we just did 3 8-hour shifts? We could cut 4 hours off their work time. Everybody'd be happy, and we just still get the same amount of production done. Smart guy, right? Well, most of y'all know the same thing happened in the 80s that happened in 2008, 9, and 10. The shit crashed. Good times only last so long. Why? Because of the force of average. We'll get into that in a second. When my grandfather's banks crashed because the savings and loans crashed, when they crashed, and it wasn't just my grandfather's, the entire country's banks crashed. Matter of fact, that's how John McCain got rich. Once the government crashed them, he started buying them. And the thing is, when you're the banker of a small town of 1,500 people, and you fuck all their money up, and everybody's got a lot of land and cattle, and you can hang people on your land that fuck with your cattle in Texas still today, we had to get the fuck out of that city. We lost everything. It wasn't his fault. We lost everything. My grandmother ended up doing federal time because she lied on the paperwork trying to save some of the farms. My other grandpa's business relied on that bank. Gone too. So I went from this life of opulence. I mean, my grandfather had a new truck every day, or every week rather. Every week. He owned like 15 banks all throughout the North Texas. We were rich. We were the respect and pride of our whole city. And all of a sudden, almost overnight, they were with pitchforks and torches coming after us. Meanwhile, because of that, my grandfathers are fighting. My parents divorced. I ain't seen my dad maybe 2 times since then. My dad was my hero. He was a world champion cutting horse rider. For those of you who don't know, it's some shit where you ride a horse and do some weird stuff, right? But he was the best at it. So as a little kid, and it's like these horses cost way more than race horses, right? My dad was the best in the world at it. He left me when I was 5 years old. I've seen him, like I said, a couple times since, and gave me up for adoption. Parents split up, gave me up for adoption. The dude that adopted me, his answer for everything was, I grew up getting my ass beat. And I don't mean like getting slapped on the hand. One time this motherfucker choked me so much that the capillaries in my eyes busted and there was blood in my eyes for like 2 months. One time, I smarted off to the teacher in class, and if you did this today, you'd immediately go to jail. But one time I smarted off to the teacher in class, and my dad beat my ass so much, he used to bring home torture weapons from work. Like this dude would bring home paddles and go, made you a new paddle today. Like, what the fuck? I didn't ask for that for Christmas, motherfucker. Get that out of here. That's how much of a torturous piece of shit he was. One time he hit me so much because I clapped back to a teacher in class, and then he brought me to school the next day and made me drop my pants in front of the entire class and show him the lashes on my ass. And he told my teacher, next time you bring a problem to me, it better be a real one because this is my solution for it. Imagine if that went down in 2020. I know if somebody did that to my kids, I'd kill them. I've been to prison. It'd still be worth it to go back if somebody did that to my kids. Actually, I'm rich these days. I just pay somebody to do it for me. But anyway. Just saying. Don't nobody get any ideas. You know what I mean? So typically kids that are adopted, that don't have parents, made a bunch of mistakes in life. I fell down the drug path. Never really did them that much, but I sold them. And I wasn't a good drug dealer. I'm not here to tell you I was moving keys like a rapper and shit like that. Man, just a little young dude hustling, running the streets. Smoked a lot of weed, but I never did any of the hard stuff. Until January 19th of 1999. Tried cocaine for the first time. They call me the hardcore closer. In my life, I've hired 2 hookers, didn't fuck either one of them. So maybe I'm not a closer after all. A friend of mine sends a hook. I told you it's going to be fucking entertaining today, right? If nothing else, it's going to be entertaining today, right? Me and my friend, because we're so damn poor, we go halves on a hooker. That's a terrible idea, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever wonder. If you do that, just make sure that you flip a coin and you get to go first. You know what I'm saying? I won the coin toss, took her back into my room. she's noticed that I had a safe with a little bit of drugs in it, maybe a couple $100, maybe an 8-ball, something like that in it. And she says, hey, do you mind? I said, whatever, right? She goes, you should try it too. I was like, man, you know what? Fuck it, here it's probably the best situation to do that. I mean, we've all seen Wolf of Wall Street, hookers and blow go together, you know? It's like iced tea and a lemon, you know? And so I snorted a line that was about this long and that I'd watched plenty of people do over the years. And my heart stopped. Luckily for me, from about here to the staircase over there is where the fire department was from my apartment. Literally, all they had to do was walk through the gate. And they brought me back to life with a defibrillator. I don't remember any of this. I woke up the next day in a hospital bed, and I went to go scratch my head, but my hand was chained to the hospital bed. About that time, the little metal noise that was made, police officer walks in and says, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you can say will be used against you. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know the rest of it, even though I've heard it 30 fucking times, but maybe 31, but who's counting? So I'm arrested for manufacturing delivery of a controlled substance. And I'm like, I didn't make or sell any of this shit. I don't know how the hell y'all charged me with that, but that's what they gave me. 99 years in prison. That's what they offered me. I'm 19 years old. Finally, after 2 years of delays, court-appointed attorney, I stayed in jail for about 2 months, finally bailed out. It was $25,000 bail, and took my family about 2 months to raise the $2,000 to get me out, and my friends. And I got out and postponed the appointment for the 99 years. Finally, they said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll give you 20 years. I said, dude, I'm not even 20 years old yet. Like, damn, who the hell goes to jail for like $200 for 20 years? Like, what the fuck are y'all trying to do to me? Finally, a new DA gets elected. He's a little bit softer on drugs throughout the course of this, which is why the public defender took so long to go through it. Long story short, one day a lawyer says, hey, they'll give you 2 years in prison, and here's what will happen. You've already done 2 months in jail. You'll do another 2 months here in the county jail. You'll make first parole since it's your first offense, and you'll be out in about 4 months on the street. That, or you can do 20 years probation, deferred adjudication. And I'm like, dude, I ain't been able to keep my shit together for the last 20 years, let alone the next 20, you know? And so I go and say, yeah, I'll do that. I sign the papers. 3 weeks later, I'm on the chain gang to the worst prison in the United States of America. You can look it up. It's called Beto 1. I was there for 6 months. I traveled to 8 different maximum security prisons over the state of Texas. So let me give you an example you can look at. You ever seen the movie where the dude's walking down the run and there's like prison cells everywhere and they're like, I'm going to sleep with you tonight and all this shit, right? I do that shit 8 times. 9, but we'll get to that in a minute. So 3 weeks later, I'm on the chain, butt-ass naked, handcuffed to a dude 10 times my size. We pull up to the first prison where they let us out at, and I'll never forget, the guy in the front of the bus was a crippled fella. He didn't have any legs. They kicked his ass off the bus. The guards kicked his ass off the bus, and the inmates beat the living shit out of him before we got in. This dude can't even defend himself, and I thought, fuck, when it gets to us, what the hell are they going to do to us? Like a big, huge reality check. I was on a 3,800-man unit. Maybe 10 of us were white. Not a good place for a young, skinny, 120-pound white guy to be. Luckily, I'm funny, and I learned to navigate my way around there pretty good. But here's the deal. My life's been ups and downs. I got out of prison. I did my 2 years. I was supposed to be home in 4 months, ended up doing 2 years. Got a nice tour of a lot of fancy facilities. Got home, made one promise to myself. I'll never break the law again. That shit ain't for me. I remember going to getting commissary or ice cream and then getting my ass kicked or having to fight for it just to get back to the cell. It was a horrible experience. So I made a decision like, this shit ain't for me. I'll never sell a drug again. I'll never touch a drug again. I'll never fucking create any kind of crime in my life, nothing. I get out and get a job working for my abusive stepfather at the car wash that he was a manager of. We had the whole world convinced that he owned it, but the truth was we were all lying. He was just the manager. But my job, I thought, was like, dude, if I just become, and this is where the story starts to get good, if it wasn't already, but my job is to become the best car wash person in the world. And if I just become the best car wash person in the world, I'll either eventually own this place or I'll own one like it. And so every day I showed up 7:15 in the morning. Every night I left at 7. 7 days a week for years, 3 years. One day and by the way, I was working for $8.50 an hour plus commission. I would sell car washes and they would give me a dime or a quarter or a nickel per car depending on what our ticket average was, right? So bottom line, I make about $800 a week. Not rich. I felt, you know what, I was free. That's what mattered. Well, one day a lady comes in the car wash who's a regular customer, and she drove a Lexus, a nice car, and she says, every time I'm here, you try to sell me something. Because my job was you come in, want a $5 car wash, I got to sell you a $7 car wash so I can get a quarter, right? That was the whole point of it. She says, man, relentlessly you hit me with this. You know me. I come in here all the time. I tell you I want the same thing all the time, and relentlessly you pitch me irregardless. That's my job. You know why it's my job? Because if I didn't do that, stepdad would still beat the shit out of me because he was still bigger than me. This is a guy that can squat 400 and something pounds at this time, so still deathly scared even though I just survived literally hell. And I didn't tell her that, though. I said, well, that's my job. She said, I'd like to give you a job. I said, I got one. I'm cool, She said, no, seriously, I'd like to turn you into a banker. And I'm like, look, lady, I own that truck back there for cash, 1968 F-250, beautiful truck. I used to have to push it sometimes to get it started. I said, I own that truck back there for cash. I don't have a credit card. I got about $50 to my name. I don't think that you should let me anywhere near a bank. She goes, none of that matters. I'll train you. I said, well, the other thing is I'm a convicted felon. She goes, you'll fit in just fine. True story. That day, the owner of the car wash shows up for the first time ever. I mean, this guy ain't been there in 10 years. And the first thing he does is jump on my ass for something. Now, by the way, I'm running the most efficient car wash in the country. We know because we go to the conferences, and they go to the conferences and come back and tell us how good of a job we were doing. His wife had broken up with him or left him or made him sleep on the couch where it was bad days. He came take it out on me. I had this job offer, so I just sat the keys down and told him to fuck off. I showed up at the bank the next day, called the lady. I had her number, Showed up at the bank the next day, mortgage bank. The next day, I kid you not, as soon as I get on the elevator, the FBI's on there with me. In mask, with guns. Like the Men in Black shit. And I'm like, oh, God damn it, I knew this was too good to be true. They get off on the same floor that I get off on, but they go the other way. Y'all remember AmeriQuest? They were raiding them. But it was a good reminder not to fuck up this new job that I got. You know what I'm saying? If I was thinking about stealing from the bank on that elevator, I wasn't thinking about it when I got off, So I go, lady, I show up, everybody's wearing suits and ties. They look like you. They're all dressed up, clean cut. I look like I just washed the car yesterday. I'm wearing like a Carhartt jacket and some Wrangler jeans and some Wolverine boots. And I'm like, let's do some loans. Thank God it's Texas. That wouldn't have flown to New York. Thank God it's Texas. And that weekend, I sat down with my friend's house, his parents' house, because we're all losers. We live with our parents and shit. I sat down at his parents' house to watch the Ohio State-Michigan game, and I asked his parents, I said, you guys ever heard of a mortgage? Like they're in their fucking house. Of course they had that, but I don't know what the hell it was. You guys ever heard of a mortgage? They said, yeah, we got one. I said, you guys ever heard of something called an equity loan? And they said, man, we've been trying to get one. We had bankruptcy a few years ago, and we really need some money. And I knew that they lived in this house all my life, basically. And I said, well, I work for this amazing lady. She's super smart. If I could get you on the phone with her and she could talk to you, would you be interested in hearing her out? Maybe you can get the money that you want. So I put them in contact. The lady gave me the application to take to them. I filled everything out. 3 weeks later, I don't know what the fuck happened, but she wrote me a check for like $8,300. Man, you talk about being rich. Boy, I thought I was something else. A week later, the guy that mowed the yard at the car wash calls me. He bought a $700,000 house. I ended up making another $14,000 off of that. So within maybe 40 days of me quitting the car wash, all of a sudden I'm sitting on $20,000. Hell, I used to have to work a whole fucking year for that, So, dude, I went from like Ryan Stewman to feeling like Bill Gates, And so I became the top producer of that branch. 2005, I made $773,000 cash in my pocket. And was, going to conferences, ended up speaking at Ron LeGrand conferences. I was the guy when you went to this weekend, free real estate seminar for idiots who are about to open their checkbook to some closer on stage, right? That was me. I was the guy on stage. I had a great story. It's like, used to be a loser, been in prison. Look, here's my paycheck. And now I made $700,000. The fucking people would run to the back. They'd be like, if this idiot can do it, I'm for sure giving him $2,000, right? Killed it, making tons of money. Bought a bunch of investment properties. Had about 32 properties. that were rented out. I didn't flip properties, I was just buying them. The key to wealth, by the way, in America is ownership. 1,000 of the top investment bankers in our country were just surveyed last year. They asked them, what makes somebody extremely wealthy in your eyes? They said $25 million in assets and $500,000 a year in income, right? The key is not your income, the key is ownership, by the way. And that doesn't mean it has to be debt-free either, right? They didn't say debt-free, they just said you need $25 million in assets and $500,000 in cash flow coming in. So the next thing is, I got a bunch of houses. I'm always ahead of the curve. The shit that I'm telling you today, 5 years from now, you go, oh yeah, that guy in Nashville said that. That does make sense. I'm always ahead of the curve. It's a curse and a blessing. And so I work from home before people work from home. And I work from home, the people come over, first month pay me rent. Real estate agents would come over to collect checks, right, on deals that we had done. People would come over to drop off applications. And it might be a poor person in the hood show up in a beat-up ass Crown Victoria with 24-inch wheels. I guess they were 18s back then, like 18-inch wheels and shit. And then the next person might be one of you guys that's, driving a Benz. It's a real estate agent. And so the neighbors get tired of the traffic, and because I live in a nice neighborhood at the time, obviously I'm making a bunch of money, I live in a nice neighborhood, the neighbors start calling the cops, think I'm selling dope. It's like the J. Cole song, the neighbors think I'm selling dope, right? So, and I wasn't, but they didn't ask me, they didn't call me. I was in Mexico on vacation with my family, and they kicked the door in through a flash grade in my house. The fucking door was unlocked. They didn't have to do all that. You know what I mean? Could just like turn the knob and open. They probably should check that first, but I'm not judging. I don't even have sandwich baggies in my house. I made a vow with myself when I was in prison. I wasn't gonna live that life no more. So I ain't got shit. But here I am, millionaire, multimillionaire, own a bunch of properties, successful business, and the damn cops are still chasing me down. And I get it's because I got a criminal record, right? Who the hell comes from where I came from and does what I've done, right? Like nobody. Literally, to this day, I've never met anybody who's done it. And so they think I'm selling dope. They're not. They find a gun in my house. It was that abusive stepfather's gun. I bought that house from my stepfather and bought them a new house, just by the way, the guy that adopted me. And his gift was to give me a Glock. Now, why the fuck, this is how stupid he is, and this is how stupid I am too for taking it, but like, why the fuck you would give a convicted felon a gun for help? It's like, dude, that had to be a murder weapon. Thank God it wasn't, right? I feel like he was trying to plant some shit on me or something now that I'm older and realize it, but at the time, it's like, oh, thanks, a gun, so. Cops come in, search the whole house, don't find shit they're looking for, but they find this gun. I'm not even home. They found an old cell phone where I'd taken a picture, my bad, making fun of cops. And I put like a cop uniform on and was carrying that gun in. It was a Halloween deal. And I made a picture, it was like, oh, I'm the police. And I was like back in a little flip phone. The FBI, or the local cops, took the flip phone, went through all my pictures on there, found that picture, and, I ended up going back to jail again. Bond myself out immediately, okay? It's like, where I'm going with this is a life of highs and lows, right? Like, family's balling, lose it all, right? Get out of jail, become rich again, get arrested again, right? This is like force of average, man. For every high is low, Newton's law. For every action, there's equal and opposite reaction, right? I'm living that shit out, just plain as day. I beat the case, y'all. You got a little money, that's how it works in America. I beat the case. And the bad news is, that wasn't where it ended. The state was so mad that I beat the case. They were convinced I was a drug dealer, right? I was like, drug dealers don't live like me. Look, we go to the hood to buy drugs. People don't come to where I live to buy drugs. The state turned the case over to the ATF. I get this job at a new mortgage company called Willow Bend Mortgage, probably the best mortgage company I can think of for their culture and the people. Like, my friends worked there for 21 years. That's how good of a company it is. And so it's like a dream job to me. Day one on the job, I get a call. I answer the phone back. Remember we used to answer phones? I answer the phone. It says, this is Agent Meade with the ATF. We're going to need you to come down to the Bank of America building and surrender yourself. I said, man, it's a bullshit way for Bank of America to try to recruit me on my first day at Willow Bend Mortgage, right? Because I'm thinking they invited me down to this banking building. Like, what kind of fucking shenanigans are these, right? I go down there, and they weren't playing that. The ATF arrested me for felon in possession of firearm. Even though I beat the case, you don't beat a federal case. Those guys got an unlimited budget, and the jury just goes, well, hell, they know shit that we don't know. Let's just convict them. That's just how it works. Nobody beats federal cases. John Gotti's the only person that we know to beat a federal case. If El Chapo couldn't get his ass out of it, there ain't no way I was getting mine out. They tried to give me 20 years again. What the fuck is up with them in 20 years? I don't know. But they try to give me 20 years again. The difference is in federal, you do day for day. I wouldn't even be here. I'm 40 years old. I wouldn't even be here today if I'd have taken that deal. But we stalled. I learned from the previous case to stall. I hired an attorney who's a black guy. This is a really important part of this story. His office was on the corner of MLK and Martin Luther King, so like in the best part of the city. And, the nice neighborhood. Y'all don't laugh. Most of y'all must not be from the city, right? So it's okay. It's not racist. I'm just telling you a story. Just go with it. So Craig Watkins, a friend of mine, right, the lawyer that I hired, very intimidating fellow, black fellow. It's a very important part of the story. Go down there, hire him. After we're working on this case for about 6 months, one day he calls about 10 of us into his office and he says, I'm going to run for district attorney of Dallas County. The time's right. And I was the only white dude in the room, and we all went, okay, how are we going to do this? Because there'd never been anybody other than a white man sit in any of the judiciary spots in Dallas County, period, in the history of the city. And he is a Democrat. There's never been a Democrat up to this point ever in any of the judiciary seats in Dallas County either. So you got 2 strikes against you, big ones. The third strike was we raised $30,000 that day. The competition was the assistant DA. The DA was leaving. The competition was the assistant DA, a guy named Toby Shook, $3.5 million budget. Republican, white guy from Highland Park, and had been there sitting as an ADA for about 10 years. So he was the successor. He was the guy that everybody expected to win. Well, we mastermind, right? When you get together and you put powerful minds together, powerful things can happen. So we mastermind. And our plan was that, look, if he's going after all the white folks in the rich neighborhoods, those people are sitting on half-acre lots. We can go over into the projects with buses and get people to the church to get them to vote. And in that same acre lot, there might be 100 people versus what he's going over here knocking doors doing this. So we bust people in from the hood to the voting deals, and he won. He won. Praise God. Because without this, I wouldn't be up here today. First black, first Democrat ever elected. And look, I'm not a Democrat nor a Republican. I'm an independent thinker. But if you're going to help my ass out and get me out of jail, I'm on your team. You know what I mean? All the way. Just put me in, coach. The feds still want to give me 20 years, though. These bastards. And so Craig, amidst all this, when he gets to his spot as DA, his Dallas police officers, they captured these guys called scarecrow bandits. They were bank robbers. And the feds wanted them because they'd robbed 18 banks around the state of Texas. And he said, if you let my 2 guys go, I'll give you the scarecrow bandits without the paperwork that it would typically take to take that case away from us. I was one of those 2 guys. The feds agreed to give me 15 months. Day for day, I did 15 months at a very minimum security, very easy place. The day that I show up in that bitch, guess who's standing in line in the chow hall in front of me? The Puerto Rican mafia I used to sell drugs for. They turn around and they say, I thought you cleaned your shit up. I did, man. You ain't gonna believe this shit, man. You fucking won't believe how the hell I wound up in here. And I explained this story to him, and I told him I'd been doing mortgages. The next thing you know, I'm running Ron LeGrand-style freaking seminars in the library teaching people how to clean their drug money up and use it to launder to buy houses and buy their neighborhood back. I'm like fucking Shawshank Redemption in the flesh, ladies and gentlemen. Call me Andy, right? Matter of fact, the leader of the Gulf cartels worked for me for about 4 years. He's a changed man. I changed his life. You know? I've always had favor on me. I just didn't realize it, you know? I get out. It's 2008. Beautiful time to be in the mortgage business, right? I know 2 things, washing cars and mortgages, and one of them pays a hell of a lot more than the other one, and I'm going to go get me a job in mortgages. The problem is, at that time, people were jumping out of windows of their buildings. People were going bankrupt. Companies were shutting down. I remember in 2006, before I went in July 15, 2007, and I remember about 3 weeks before I went in, my rep from New Century called me because I know you're going to see stuff on the news, but our branch is still running. 3 hours later, I lied. We locked out of the fucking office, right? And so I get out in 2008, but I'm so hungry, man. I ain't ate in 15 months. Before I left, though, by the way, got married, turned over all my stuff to her. It's 15 months. Surely you can wait a year, right? Yeah, 6 months into it, she's banging the gardener, and now she owns 32 homes. Yeah. I walked in a millionaire, walked out with $25 in my name. 11 years ago, I had $25 in my name and 2 felonies on my record. I walked into a place called TexasLending.com. This place in Dallas, it's a big operation. At that time, they'd become the #1 mortgage bank in the state of Texas that was privately owned. And for 2 hours, I closed the guy on every objection that he could possibly give me why he wouldn't hire me. At the end of it, he said, if you'll work as hard for our customers as you did to get this job, then you'll be rich. I said, I'm about to embarrass everybody who works here. And I went on too. 2009, I was making $70,000 a month while motherfuckers couldn't figure out how to pay their mortgage. With 2 felonies. and no start, living at home, well, not for very long, but living at home with parents. And I worked my way back up. 2010, Obama, who I think is a cool guy, maybe not the best president, really cool guy, decided that he was going to try to protect people by passing something called the Dodd-Frank Act. Part of the Dodd-Frank Act was if you were a convicted felon, you could no longer carry a financial license. Licenses went from being state regulated to federally regulated. And guess who the feds don't like? I lost my license. So here I am, make $300,000-$400,000 a year again, and I can't do it. I go to one of my friends, John. Matter of fact, that's how I met John. I go to one of my friends named Michael Reese. And I was his loan officer. When he was the king of real estate in Dallas, I was the king of loans, and we fucking ruled together. So a lot of folks don't know people's backstories, but he's real. And he'll tell you that I was real too because we were making that money together. And he was guaranteeing that he could buy them, and I was financing them when he couldn't, right? And so we were making a ton of money. I lost my ability to do that, so I go hit Mike, and I was going to ask him for a job. Before I could ask him for a job, Mike, who's a notoriously cheap bastard until of recent few years, right? But back then, notoriously cheap, right? Didn't mean he doesn't have money. It's just like literally he's still driving the car from 2004 until 2 years ago when the engine blew. That's just, he's probably still got he's like me, he's probably still got the first dollar he ever earned. And before I could ask Mike for a job, he said, man, I spent $8,000 on some DVDs, dude, that changed my life. And I went, well, if this dude, first of all, who is the salesman that sold you that shit? $8,000 for some DVDs, really? Damn, and you cheap as fuck. So if you spent $8,000 on some DVD, and he said, I'll let you use them, I'll give them to you. And I said, okay, so I go out to his car, and he goes, you should learn how to do this stuff. And it was a program called Continuity Blueprint, which is antiquated. Don't go look it up. It wouldn't teach you anything you wouldn't know today. But back then, it was revolutionary shit. It's called Continuity Blueprint by a guy named Ryan Dice. Anybody ever heard of him? And so I followed it to a T, and I created a program for loan officers on how to do some creative financing. It had been about 6 months since I'd been a loan officer. I'd been living on savings and stuff like that. And I put it on Google, ran some ads before Facebook and stuff had ads. So I put it on Google, I ran some ads to it, and I made about $30,000, $50,000 that month, right? So say I spent 20 in ads, made about 50, right? It's a good thing. Offered a money back guarantee, risk reversal, all that stuff. The next month, same thing, put all my money, so I got 50 grand now. I put all my money that I'd made, like all of this, bet on black, it's working, let's scale it, right? Then they started hitting me back with refunds. You know why? Because the shit I taught was pre-Dodd-Frank, and I didn't know the new rules because I wasn't working in that business anymore. So people were like, dude, that's a great idea, but it's highly illegal to do that now because of the Dodd-Frank Act. I was offering free title policies. You finance the thing, we'll give you a free title policy. It's just an in, right? It's just a gimmick. And so you can check on me. 12 years in this game, I ain't got no one-star reviews nowhere. I'm a man of my word. If there's anything that I am, I'm a man of my word. If I tell you something, it's going to come true. So I refunded all those people and lost every dime that I had. I put my family at risk, everything. I had to move in with my in-laws. I had to sell my house. I was making $300,000-$400,000 a year, lived in a $100,000 house. I had to sell it, everything to pay these people back because I'd spent the money in ads, and then they asked for refunds back too, right? Imagine that. Most people would be sitting here with a bunch of rip-off report stuff, but again, it wasn't their fault. It was mine. I should have done my due diligence. I own shit. That's what I hold myself accountable. So I'm broke as shit. I move in with my in-laws, and I start this social media marketing game. I told you I'm always about 5 years ahead of the game. Nobody believed in Facebook at the time. Facebook, man, that's for the Spacebook, blah, 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 right? Like nobody believed in it at that time. And I'm telling people, dude, you can make money. It's media. You can make money from it. And I knew because every time I posted, I was kind of I'm sure you wouldn't ever think that I would do this, but I was kind of an asshole in the office. I used to walk around to people's offices in the morning carrying my top producer plaques in the morning, go, the champ is here, motherfuckers! That's just kind of the person I am. And I think I'm inspiring them, but really I'm just pissing them all off, man. I'm lucky I don't have to fight them every night in the parking lot. So I go through, I lose all my money. I start this social media marketing thing, and I tell people, hey, for $500 setup, Dustin Black, I think, was my third customer. He's in the back over there somewhere. For $500, I'll set it up, and for $100 a month, I'll write your Facebook post for you. That's how little value social media had back then, $100 a month for somebody to write your post for you. I did it. I built the thing up to about 75 users, $500 down, $100 a month. Then realized I could not write 75 fucking posts a day. I just couldn't. Somewhere around 40, my shit started hurting inside of my brain, right? And so I had to give that up. And Mike came back to me and said, why don't you coach loan officers? why don't you just, you did stuff that they couldn't do. I was like, they don't like me, man. I was taking all their business. He goes, yeah, here in Dallas, but people in other states will want to know how you did that. And so that's how I got joined on this coaching. Like, if there was ever a person that says, those who can't coach, well, you're right, I couldn't, so I did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had a legit reason to do it. And I grew my business that way. But then I started smoking pot all the damn time because I got to deal with loan officers. You agents, I'm sure you know, right? So then it's like, fuck, really, a rate and term refinance question again, right? So anyway, it's funny because loan officers, if there's any in the room, y'all always worry about rates. You know who worries about rates? You and nobody fucking else. Your customers do. You know why your customers rate shop you? Because you teach them to do that shit. You know why your customers ask you what the interest rate is? It's because you fucking tell them what it is. They don't care. They want a fucking house. They don't want a mortgage. I understood that. That's why I got rich doing it. Nobody rolls over in the middle of the night and goes, dude, we should leverage our finances for 30 years at 7%. No, they go, we need a fucking house, right? So anyway, I start coaching loan officers, smoking weed. I'm angry at the world. I moved my life away from God. And I was active in the church and everything, and I just flipped a switch, man. Became this angry, pot-smoking, mad person. And that trend in my life continued until 2017. I had a customer show up in my office, a client show up in my office. He got ripped off by another client. For some reason, his coked out mind thought that I was a part of the deal. Showed up in my office and live streamed me, basically chased him down the hall, almost kicking his ass. He's a little faster than I am, kind of slow. And but that was like a breaking point for me. It's like, I don't want to attract these people, and I don't want to be that guy. It's like I got anger problems, right? I told you I grew up, the answer for everything was violence. Prison, stepdad, answer for every gangbang, and the answer was violence. I'm tired of that. I can't do it anymore. It's not serving me. It's stressing me out. And Mike Reese, who's always been a trusty friend, man. If there's a few people I can rely on, a few of them are in this room, and Mike's not in this room, but he's been one of them. And he says, hey, we're going to Wyoming, and I'd like for you to speak at this event. And I said, it's fucking cold up there. I don't like the cold. He goes, we're going skiing. I'm scared of heights. I've got like two things I don't like, cold and heights. And he's like, come to Wyoming in the wintertime. Shit. He goes, we'll pay for your plane ticket and your hotel room. It's like, fuck, I ain't got nothing to do. All right, Mike, I owe you. You really helped me out. I'll come up there. I speak at this event and told this story a little bit differently. It was like one of the first times I'd told this story in public. Well, right after me is I usually, like, you'll see me today, I'll speak, and then I'll leave, right? I leave this afternoon. I'm not in town very long. I'm a busy guy, so I plan on doing the same thing in Wyoming. I spoke, and I was going to leave the deal, and that guy right there caught me on the way out. He said, hey, don't leave. I'd like for you to tell me if I do a good job speaking or not, and or something of that nature, right? And I went, oh, I know what happened now. He's like, this dude's got a drug problem. He needs to fucking listen to me. But if he'd have said that to me, I'd have been like, fuck you. Because I wasn't trying to hear it. And so I listened to Jon speak, man, and I'm in the back crying like a little bitch. He's talking about his daughter Lexi's heart. If y'all have heard that story, it's sad as fuck, man. Turns out it's all right now, But this is the first time that I'd heard it, and I was like, oh shit, man, I couldn't imagine my kids, man, fuck. We leave the event for the day, and I've grown up around people of color my whole life. A lot of my friends and stuff weren't white growing up, and I show up in Wyoming and everything's white, not just the snow. As a guy that smokes pot, I'm scared to ask white people for weed because they call the cops. Like, weed, no, 911, this guy's wanting drugs from me, right? Like, fuck. So I go through this prolific detox. I've been smoking I would smoke Snoop Dogg under the table, and those people like Wayne that knew me in the past will tell you, you open the front door of my house and you'd have thought I was growing fucking plants in that bitch. I smoked a ton of weed. Good weed too, by the way. And so, not anymore, but back then. But so, I went through this huge detox, man, because for 10 years I'd been just like massive amounts of, your body gets used to anything and then you take it away and I can't get it up there, and I go through this like 2 days worth of detox. And I hear Jon speak. After I speak on day 2, I hear Jon speak, and he talks about his past. And I said, man, that's why I'm here in Wyoming. I was supposed to meet this guy. And I'd known who he was. Hell, I sent him a friend request in 2012, and it sat there until 2017 or 18 when he accepted it. It was about this time. You realize it was January 2018. So we're like literally like 2 years to the date probably that event took place. If we looked it up, it's probably within the last week or so that this happened. Called Jon the I got his number. I called him about a month later, and I said, hey, man, when we were up in Wyoming, I went through this detox. I don't smoke weed anymore, man, and my life's really cleared up and changed. And I said, would you be willing to coach me? I don't need to recruit agents. I don't give a shit about that. I don't sell to agents or loan officers anymore. It's not really my thing. And I said, I need somebody to keep me sober, man, somebody to hold me accountable, And he said, he gave me this long speech. And after I convinced him to take my money, we worked together. Every Saturday, I made a phone call. And my life's transformed since then. But since I got sober, I started looking back, and I'm like, man, my life's been full of ups and downs. Ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. Like, I'm fucking tired of it. What is it that caused that? How can I, now that I'm sober, how can I make sure that none of that shit happens to me again, right? And so I created this vision called the force of average. You see, everything on this planet is designed to keep us average. You think about people that make a whole bunch of money. In my case, how many of you made a whole bunch of money and lost it? You don't have to raise your hand, but you can think inside your head. How many of you have had the greatest month of your life followed by the shittiest month of your life? How many of you have met the woman or man of your dreams and then fucked her ugly friend? Right? That's what life does to us. And I thought, man, shit, I'm tired of falling. Everybody always laughs at that one really hard. I'm tired, except for the ugly friends in the room. But no offense, right? So I am tired of this shit. I'm tired of watching it happen to other people. I'm tired of witnessing and experiencing it happen to me. I got to figure out a way to beat this shit. So one of the things is I'm early on social media OG. I was one of the, I'm writing 70-something posts a day for people. It's safe to say I got shit kind of figured out. Oh, I was answering their DMs too. So it's safe to say I got some shit figured out. And so I'm like, well, they run the algorithm on Google. They run the algorithm on Facebook. Shit, there's got to be an algorithm that runs this planet. And so I call it the force of average. If you're living below average, life's really easy. The government will give you handouts. People will throw you money. You can get a cheap job easy. It's easy to get a $20,000, $30,000 a year job. Anybody can do that, right? If you live below average, life's really easy. It's for those of us that stretch to try to be the greatest version of ourselves. We try to become that elite version. That's hard. It's hard to go to the gym every day. It's hard to show up at work 100% every day. It's hard to make sure you're around the right group of people at all times, because I know what it's like to be around the wrong group of people. That's hard. If you're truly pushing for greatness, it's hard. And the force of average's job is to bring you back down. And after months and even years of thinking of this process, I realized that the force of average only has one tool that consistently uses in our life: distraction. You see, we face 30,000 decisions a day as a human being. Should I make a left? Should I make a right? Should I put these shoes on? Should I wear this watch? Should I drive this car? Should I put this clothes on? If you'll notice anything about me, I just wear the same clothes every single day. Not the same ones I got, I'm not that cheap, but I have like 10 black t-shirts, and that's all I ever wear. Try to help myself from getting decision fatigue about 3 o'clock every day when I've already made 50,000 because I'm above average 50,000 decisions. We're subjected to 4,000 advertisements every day. So we just make 4,000 of those 30,000 decisions, or should we click or not? Should we buy that or not? Are we interested in that or not? Decision fatigue wears us out. And so the force of average job is to distract us. We're on a mission to make a bunch of money. Boom, your wife gets mad at you. Your kids get sick at school. Boom, you're sidetracked. A client stops on you. There's a distraction, right? There's always a distraction. That's its weapon. And so for me, I'm like, okay, so now I figured out, now if you're going to play the rules to the game, if you're going to play the game, you got to know the rules. So now I figured out what the rules are. This thing's trying to distract me, okay? That's all it's trying to do. It has one job only, is to distract me. And I think, okay, so what's the one thing you can use to fight distraction? Focus. If you can be focused, that's a human superpower, ladies and gentlemen. Matter of fact, if you watched Conor McGregor fight last week, Tony Robbins interviewed him this week. And in the interview, in the first 3 minutes, he used the word, I'm focused now 25 times. Why? Or 23 times. Why? Because that's a superpower. But let me tell you why I know it's a superpower and why so many of you don't access this superpower. It's because at a young age, teachers be telling you, oh, you got ADD. At a young age, people say, oh, you can't pay attention in school. Oh, this is what you're supposed to do. And so you start this process. See, we're shaped who we are between the ages of 3 and 7. And so in first grade, they start telling you, they try to do it to my kids. I'm like, fight me, motherfuckers. I ain't putting them on drugs. They start telling you can't focus. They start telling you got ADD. They start labeling you with all these disorders because they can't get their life great. They want to put some sort of label on us. Well, see, I grew up on a horse farm. I told you guys that. And when a horse is a colt, that means a little baby horse, right? You tie it up to a fence, and the thing will pull against it on the halter and try to break away from it. Eventually, the horse's spirit's broken, and it stops. Now, when it's a big-ass horse, you can just throw the reins over anything. The horse could go anywhere, but since it was trapped in its mind at a young age, it never realizes that it's free and it never walks away. We're that horse, ladies and gentlemen. Horse, not horse, for the record. We're that horse, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to make sure I said that right. We're that horse. We've been told our entire lives that we can't focus. And then guess what? We do dumb shit as adults. We go, oh, I had an ADD moment. Well, you know me, I'm easily distracted, or I got ADD. Like, we start using it as an excuse. Because the force of average is stealing our focus from us because it knows it's a superpower. Imagine if I was your enemy and I knew what your superpower was, and I knew that was the only way you could beat me, I'd do my damnedest to make sure you couldn't access your superpower. That's why we stay sedated on alcohol. It's why we stay sedated on drugs. It's because they're trying to distract us from being the same version of yourself that you just saw in that vision. And I got tired of losing to that shit. I'm competitive as hell. I hate losing, even though I've done a bunch of loser shit in my life. I hate losing, and I'm tired of it. So I invented something called the G code. Now listen, I've been in a lot of masterminds. I've probably spent $1.5 million, $2 million to be in rooms like this all over. Matter of fact, the last time I was in a room like this, it was at Dan Bilzerian's house with Kris Jenner and Magic Johnson, right? So I have some very elite people in my life. And all of them boil down to the same thing. When we were selling Ford trucks, I run sales thing and some videos for Ford company for about 3-4 months. We were selling Ford trucks. It was family, occupation, recreation, dream. My first mentor is a guy named Kevin Nations. He taught me faith, family, fitness, and finance. I had a guy that was a part of that program with me that went on to build his own program called Garrett J. White that did like body, being, balance, and business. There's a guy named Sean Whalen that's broke it down. There's lots of mentors. Even if you listen to Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates talk, they talk about the 4 areas of life. And so in my career coaching loan officers and coaching real estate agents and stuff like that early on in my career, I made quite a few of them millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. Not in volume, in cash in their pocket. One of them killed himself. Many of them got divorced. A lot of them got on drugs because they fell victim to the force of average. Money's a magnifier. If you're a shitbag when you're broke, you are fucked when you're rich. You are. Money's a magnifier. But I thought, man, they don't have a code to live by. I didn't give them a code. I enhanced 25% of their life, but I negated 75%, the most important 75%, because if you get the other 75% together, that other 25 and your job will take care of itself, I promise. And so I thought, okay, I can't just be the sales guy anymore. I got to teach people this G code process that I've got. And it breaks down to 4 areas of your life. Okay? Number 1 is a grateful mindset. You see, oftentimes we use drugs and we run from things because we're scared. We're scared of losing. Grant Cardone always says the worst person to take advice from is a millionaire. They got too much to lose. Think about it. If you're just barely a millionaire, you got a lot to lose. Like, finally, I made it. Shit, I don't want to lose it. That's where most people go into. They go in defense mode. They're growth mode, growth mode, growth mode, growth mode. Get it in defense mode. Right? So first thing I do every morning is I wake up and I thank God for 5 things. 5 different things every day. Most people get up in the morning, check their email, like, son of a bitch, because listen, no good emails come in past midnight, right? The title company be waiting until 12:01 and be like, your shit didn't come through, there's a lien on the property. You wake up in the morning, you're like, man, I can't wait to close Main Street. God damn it, right? Attack us in the middle of the night, start our day off. People say, I'm grumpy in the morning. You know, I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm not a morning person, right? These are the fucking lies we tell ourselves. That's scarcity mindset. And so what I did was I start waking up and finding 5 things to be grateful for immediately, making my mind shift from being angry and scared to being abundant and grateful. See, work-life balance is bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. The only balance you need in your life, my friend Tim Grover says, a scale is balanced at 0. Who the fuck wants to be a 0? The only balance that you want in life is the balance between being grateful for where you are and what you have right now while still in pursuit of who you can be and what's next in your life. That's the balance, because if you get too grateful, you won't go like the millionaire that's hoarding that money. You'll protect it and you won't grow. And if you're always worried about the future, you won't be grateful for what you have right now. And they say money doesn't buy you happiness. If you're not grateful for what you have right now, there's no way in hell you're going to be grateful when you get more of it. You guys with me on this? Yes. So in the morning, first thing I do is I think of 5 things that I'm grateful for. The second part is your genetics. So you got a grateful mindset and your genetics. Listen, I've got a friend of mine, Dr. Chalmers, Matt Chalmers. I was just at lunch with him yesterday. His son and my son are in private school together. And great guy. He's filthy fucking rich. Why? Because people sell their companies for hundreds of millions of dollars, and then they come to him and they go, my health is fucked up, and now I can't even walk my kids around Disney World. And he fixes them for a healthy fee, obviously. So if you don't get your genetics right, you work your entire life till you're 60 years old only to get dementia, diabetes, and all the cancer and all these other things because you didn't take care of yourself along the way. You see John standing up here built like somebody you'd sit on top of a fucking trophy, right? That's for a reason, you know? True story. New Year's Eve, Steve Cutclow, who just took fourth in Mr. Olympia, and Todd Abrams and a couple other people. Todd invites me over to his house. He's a great friend of mine. And Todd Abrams that spoke yesterday with Icon Mills, he invites me over to his house for New Year's Eve, and he goes, hey, man, we're all going to get in the hot tub. And I'm like, oh, hell no, we ain't. First of all, not with my wife there standing next to y'all, and not with y'all's wife there standing next to me. Fuck that, I ain't getting in there, right? Especially since I couldn't work out for 3 months. I had a broken neck. It's like, dude, I ain't been to the gym since like September, which when I broke my neck, I was in peak shape. By the way, that's what saved my life. The fact that I've been working out hard as fuck for 21 years. Ever since I was in prison, I'm able to do 30. Now I've got this broken arm, I can only do 10 because I'm rehabbing, but I can do 35 unbroken pull-ups in sets. Like that's what kind of shape I'm in. Because of that, my traps in my neck are huge, and when my neck snapped, my traps held it in place. That's the only reason I'm not paralyzed. So and while I'm working out this whole time, I'm like, well, I don't have a six-pack, and I don't look like John, but I'm in here pushing every day, and I got different genetics, and I'm on the right diet, and I never realized like what that was for, but all that work for 21 years saved my life in one moment. Had that been the dude in the passenger seat, if he'd have been driving and flipped him, he wouldn't be here today. It'd be like a 50 Cent song. He got hit like I got hit, but he ain't fucking breathing, right? Genetics is important. Genetics is two-part. Grateful mindset's one thing, a grateful mindset. Genetics is two-part, diet and exercise. You don't have to have a crazy diet. You ain't got to go paleo or keto. All you got to do is eat a half a hamburger. Eat 2 pieces of pizza instead of 1. If you just cut 300 calories per day, which is like a handful of fries, honestly, if you just cut 300 calories a day, every day of the year from your diet, it's like 163 hours on the treadmill. That's how long it takes to burn that for the year. You ain't got to do nothing dramatic. You just got to portion it a little bit. And oftentimes we're eating because we're bored. Oftentimes we're eating because we were told, you better finish your plate. I cooked that shit, right, from our parents. Dude, I go to places, like last night we were at some steakhouse around here. I forget the one that was Morton's. And dude, the steak was this big. Like my wife and I, people probably think we're cheap around town. We split a steak. They're probably like, well, these cheap bastards pulled up in a Rolls Royce and want to split a steak. What a fucking couple of cheap bastards, fake-ass internet marketing motherfuckers, you know? But I just, you got to have smaller portions. The third thing is your grind. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute when I get into the power versus force side. The third thing is your grind. That's your business. And business consists of 3 things. Your employees, your customers, and your employees, your customers, and your referral partners. These are the people that you take care of. In business, that's what matters. Your employees, your customers, your referral partners. The fourth thing, which is the most important, the higher the number, the more important, is the group of people you're surrounded with. Right now, if I was hanging out with the Mexican mafia, which I've been known to do in the past, if I was hanging out with them and they're all selling drugs and I'm not, and I'm being a God-fearing, law-abiding citizen, but I'm around them and they're not doing that, guess who's going to jail regardless? But also, if you get around the right people at the right time, at the right place, the right things will happen for you too. Part of my transformation with John is a lot of people they're not happy with me because I had to leave them behind. But I have a standard in my life. If you're not striving for greatness in your life, you can't ride with me either. If you're not repping our colors, you can't be in our gang. If you're not the shining example, see, when people come to work for me, I don't tell them this is going to be the greatest 9 to 5 ever. I tell them it's like working for church. You can't come here and pretend to be a certain way and then leave and act like something different. You either live this shit or you don't live it with us. I tell my customers that. I will give people their fucking money back and tell them to kick rocks if they don't represent us right. Why? Because we represent what winning looks like. And if the group of people around me don't look like winners, I don't want to be around them. If you're not on that same path, now you don't have to be as rich as I am, you don't have to be as smart as I am, but if you're not on that same path and trying to push yourself there, if you decided to stay at base camp and I'm headed to the top, we ain't going to be able to see each other for long. It's going to be hard for me to see you from the top. So the group of people around you are your friends, your family, your employees and customers, and your mentors. Every day I make sure that I focus my time on somebody. And so we have these 4 areas, the G code. And every day I make a micro commitment to grow in each of those 4 areas. Push myself a little bit harder in the gym. Find myself being a little bit more grateful. Be a little bit more focused at work. Yesterday I did a live stream in my G code group. And one of the guys said, how do you stay focused? Or how do you stay focused with the schedule? I pulled out a box from 2006 that was all the way up until 2016, 10 years worth of spirals that I numbered, and I was showing them, hey, here's how I've lived my day. If the FBI ever wants to know where the fuck I've been, they can just pick up this box, and as of 2018, look at Gmail, or 2016, pick up Gmail, and they can figure out where I've been every second of the day, because I literally mark every second. I live and die. You can't come in my office. We have a no ambush law in my office. You can't just come in and go, hey, you got a minute? Fuck no, I ain't got a minute. Who told you could come in here? I have a do not disturb sign on my door, and if you open that door, you are freaking written up and fired at my office. They know do not, because we are all about focus. So every day I focus on my grateful mindset. Every day I focus on my genetics, being a little bit better. Every day I focus on my grind and part into the people in my life. I do date night with my kids once a week. I do date night with my wife now for 5 years once a week. Every day I make sure that I impart time with somebody. Dustin Black, one of my dear friends in the room. Last night my flight was delayed and everything else, but I love that guy so much that I wrote in my G-Code app that I'm going to spend time with Dustin. That's who I'm going to focus my time on. I made sure I showed up even though I was tired and late because I made a commitment. And so I live by this G-Code, and guess what? It keeps me focused, which is the one thing that the force of average hates. And I can tell you my life, it's not 10x, it's not 20x, it's 1,000,000x, not just in the money that I make, but in the mindset that I have and the people that have been attracted to me. Last weekend at my house at the Conor McGregor fight, there was a pastor, there was a professional basketball player, there was a Dallas Cowboys player, there was a 2-time Mr. Olympia, and not the one that I just mentioned at Todd's house. Todd was there though. There was the billion-dollar producer almost killed. I look around my house and I'm like, shit, just 4 years ago, this would have been full of people passing a blunt around. And now it's full of people that the world looks up to. And guess what? Because I've and this is why the group of people you hang out with is the most important, because I've put myself in the right place, the right time with the right people, the right things have happened in my life. If you got the right group of people around you, they'll tell you that you're out of shape. They'll tell you that you're overweight. They'll tell you that you need to fucking clean your act up. They'll tell you to get off of drugs. They'll tell you to go get a job. They'll tell you that you need to change the way you think. They'll tell you what you need to hear. And we have 2 choices when we hear what we need to hear: be offended like a little bitch or take personal responsibility like a champion. 2 weeks ago, I was sitting at Jerry Jones's private club with Ken Shamrock and Steve Weatherford. I'm telling you, this is my life because I live by the G code. Steve Weatherford was once the fittest man in the NFL. He's also the coolest man to ever be in the NFL, and I have 4 Super Bowl champions as friends. And Ken Shamrock, obviously UFC and WWF champion, been a long-time friend of mine as well since 2018, since I changed my life. And Ken comes into town, he's fighting still. And he sits next to Steve. Steve's ripped, man. That's the bad thing when you have the right group of people. They're all fucking ripped and beautiful, right? And you're like, damn it, I broke my neck 3 months. I'm trying to get back to where y'all are at. Can we get some pizza over here? Anyway, so Steve apparently used to have a TV show on Spike TV. And he would do these weird things. So he traveled to Thailand and put on all these pads and shit and interviewed Ken Shamrock as Ken was kicking and beating the shit out of him. It was like, hey, man, what are you doing? Right? You can go watch it on YouTube. I didn't know they even knew each other. I thought I was going to introduce them. But champions always know each other. They attract each other like magnets. So me and Steve are sitting there. Ken's 53 and just jacked. I mean, he makes John's arms look small. And me and Steve said, damn, bro, you're 53 and you look like a fucking champ, man. And he said, dude, I'm somebody's hero. Imagine walking up to me and I look like some fat piece of shit when you used to see me in the ring, destroying people. Imagine that. Imagine you finally meet your hero that you've seen. Imagine the first time you met me, Ryan, if I had a gut and I looked like I was going bald and everything else, when you had this vision of me being this most elite version of myself. I become the most elite version of myself every single day, and the public holds me accountable, and I'm accountable for that. Think about that. That's the mindset of a champion. He never stopped. And then he said one of the most beautiful things I ever heard. And I stick to the G code, my brother. And so I say that because if you got the right group of people around you, they will support you. Now, making a little shift. You guys got this? You digging that? You liking it? Oh, yeah. Is it helping you? Yeah. Awesome. So here's the thing. There's nothing for sale here. Zero. You're not going to get an email upsell from me. There's no subliminal shit. There's no fucking mind tricks, none of this. But when you leave here, you can go to gcode.phonesites.com and you can take our 0 to 100 challenge. We will take you from a 0, where you're at right now with no points, to 100 points in 25 days. Each one of those areas, grateful mindset, genetics, grind, and group, you get a point every day. You make a goal of $1 million a year. See, forever I had this goal of $1 million a year, and I'd always fall short of it. 700, 800, 900, never made $1 million in a year until I got focused on $3,000 a day. Guess what happened that year? $2 million. Because $1 million was a lot to me, and I couldn't understand it, but $3,000 wasn't shit. So it was easy for me to focus on $3,000 a day. And I never looked at the big number. People be telling you, make your projections a year out. Yeah, make your goal $1 million, but make your daily focus $3,000. Right? Make your goal losing 50 pounds, but make your daily goal losing a quarter of a pound. You see what I'm saying? It's 300 calories less a day. And once you get, see, because we can understand, simplicity sells even to your subconscious. So when we can understand things and we can micronize them and make them to where they're consumable, we can make them real and possible. And so you'll get this app called the G Code app. I know, it's great, but the G Code app. And you'll go in there and you'll log a journal, what you're grateful for every day, 5 things, you get a point. Did you work out and stick to a diet today? You get another point. Who did you focus your time on today? David Goggins is one of my mentors and friends. He told me one time his theory called the cookie jar. You save all the cool things that you've done in life, and when you have a bad day, you can reach into the cookie jar and pull them out and remind yourself how much of a bad motherfucker you really are. So every day there's like, hey, where did you win today in that app? And the last thing, there's a journal attached to it. It's like, what's the lesson of the day? And oftentimes that lesson of the day can be a Facebook post too, just by the way. Can serve 2 purposes. People love lessons. You have an experience, extract the lesson, and educate your audience online. So you get 4 points. 4 points, 25 days, 100 points. Takes how many days to create a habit? 21. How many days to lock it in permanently? 60. So by the time you get 200 points, you've created a daily habit of focusing on what matters in all 4 areas of your life. Because you can get rich and lose it. The force of average is waiting for you. You can get ripped and put it back on. Jason Poston, he's Mr. Olympia, a friend of mine. He told me one time when we were sitting down talking, he said, the hardest part of my job is when I started working out at 15 years old, I never quit. And people say, oh, well, you're just genetically gifted. He's like, there's no before and after pics because I never stopped. Right? Think about that. A lot of people, they got before and after pics. That's, hey, that's confidence leads to certainty, right? And the before and after pics, man, they just show that you're riding this roller coaster the force of average is getting you. Because you see, because what people don't show is the before, after, and then the after pics again. Well, I got ripped for the show, now I can put my gut back on, right? And so staying focused on it every single day and holding yourself accountable, plus the gamification of those points, and literally there's nothing for sale there. You're not even going to get an email from me. You're not going to get anything. I'm not going to be like, hey, you're using my app, you should read. My sales team ain't going to call you. None of that shit. Because it's just my gift to the world. And I spend a fuck ton of money to make this thing. Because I want to change lives. I'm fortunate enough in my life to where my life's been changed. I like to give you the gift of change too. So you can go to gcode.phonesites.com. And you can get that, take the 0 to 100 challenge. We give away swag when you get to your first 100 points. All the rules are there. Now let's make a shift. I got about 30, 35 minutes or so still? Okay. Okay. Yeah, all right, cool. So I'm going to teach you guys these moves that when I broke my neck. So let me tell you this. In 2018, in November, my general manager got a DWI and went to jail. Everybody on my team quit. There was all different. It was not just because of him, but there was all these different things, and the whole team quit or got fired. come January of 2019, not 18, 19, January of 2019, I woke up and it was just me and one person working for me, and she was brand new. So I had to do everything myself. By April, I finally hired my second person. By June, we get everything firing on all cylinders, okay? September, I break my neck and I'm gone for 3 months. Last year, we usually have exponential growth. Last year, we only grew by 21%, but we still grew because of what I'm about to show you guys. See, a lot of y'all are forcing your way through life. You're making expired calls. You're making calls to agents, trying to recruit them and get them to come over to your brokerage. That's fine. Force works, but it's inefficient. Just because it's effective doesn't mean it's efficient. When we wash cars, we had to be the most efficient process, which means we had to wash the most amount of cars with the least amount of people. And so I carried that assembly line process into the mortgage company. That's why I could do $30 to $50 million in mortgages by myself. No branch, no team, no assistant, no dedicated processor, nothing. By myself. That's not collective numbers. That's not me and my team. That's me. And the reason why is because I understand efficiency in the assembly line process of anything in life. And so most of y'all are forcing things to happen. And while force is effective, it's not efficient. And see, forcing is things like door knocking, right? You show up, you knock on people's door, ask if they're interested in selling their house. You show up, you knock on an expirer's door, ask if they're interested in selling their house. Think about the inefficiency of that. First of all, in my neighborhood, it's illegal. And in Texas, your ass might get shot if you show up on somebody's property uninvited. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people still knocking doors. I see it every day in real estate groups, thinking about making cold calls and knocking doors. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying it's a whole hell of a lot of work for the return that it's going to give you. It's a forcing things to happen. You're forcing a complete stranger who does not know you to make a decision, one of the biggest ones of their life, to do business with you, whether it's an agent coming on as a recruit or whether it's somebody who wants to list or sell their house. Same thing with cold calling. While it works, you're literally hoping and praying that your experience and ability to influence can change a complete stranger that has no interest in you or what you sell's mind. That's some hardcore closer shit, y'all. That ain't for everybody. And again, I'm not saying they don't work. Some of y'all going, oh, here's this guy with this fucking cold calls don't work. Well, I made blah, blah, blah. I get you. If you made $1 million last year cold calling, imagine how much you can make with what I'm about to show you. Networking events. Dude, y'all ever been to like a B&I event? That shit reminds me of when I was a kid. You'd show up at the concert and you'd be like, hey man, did you bring weed? Oh no, I didn't bring weed. Oh fuck, you didn't bring weed either? How the fuck are we gonna get high before Megadeth plays? You know? That's what B&I's like. Oh, you didn't bring leads? No, I didn't bring leads. I was hoping you brought leads. You didn't bring leads either? No, hell, I thought you had them. Like, fuck, we're all losers. Winners don't go to free networking events. You know who shows up at free networking events? Motherfuckers who need free leads. People who are dependent on you to be there. Nobody wakes up in the middle of the night and goes, you know what, I'm going to go give a bunch of business to fucking people I don't know today. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bless people. I don't even think Jesus would have woke up and thought that. Let alone business people who need a handout. But see, force, you can get instant results. If you make 300 cold calls every day, right? And you get this dopamine of at least one of them said yes. But you just spent 8 hours to get one yes. And here's the rough thing about sales. Those 300 calls, you got one of them that said yes. The other 299 weren't just like, no, I'm not interested. They're like, don't fucking call me again. Fuck you, you loser, right? Shit, our subconscious remembers everything. After a while, shit, some of us start to believe it. Fuck, maybe I am a loser, right? So force keeps you comfortable because it gives you this instant dopamine of getting results. That doesn't mean it's right. You see, power takes time, though. If you think of the most powerful thing that you can think of, what's the most powerful thing you can think of, sir? You, sir, what's the most powerful thing you can think of? Time. What's the most powerful thing you can think of? God. That's a good one. That's the first time I've ever heard that, by the way. What's the most powerful thing you can think of? I think the most powerful thing that I can think of is the sun. Without the sun, none of this shit exists, including all of us, right? The sun's the most powerful thing that we can actually tangible, like God and forgiveness or intangible things, right? We can't actually physically see, touch, hear, and know that they're really there. We just have to have faith. But we know the sun's there because it's up shining, except for in Nashville today. And so The sun is 6.8 billion years old. It took a while to gain all that power. The sun didn't just wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm going to run shit in the universe. It took a while for that star to become that powerful. It's going to take a while when you make power moves. When you start making power moves, it takes a while too. I started my first podcast in 2011. 5 people listened to it. Episode 2, 0 people listened to it. This is when most people quit. But I understood the shit would live forever. And a force move is to make a cold call and then a new cold call. See, listen, what I'm about to say is going to upset some of y'all, and I don't mean it that way, so I hope you truly hear my heart. One of the reasons why real estate agents have some of the shittiest fucking attitudes in the world, and if you don't think that that's true, you're really missing out on your marketplace. You just go read their Facebook posts, is because there's no certainty in your life. You don't know where the fuck your next check's coming from. Shit, half the people in the industry that ain't fucking made a check in the last 3 months because it's that time of the year. Oh, it's Christmas, blah, 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 right? So you're making these cold calls, you're making all this stuff, dude, and you don't know where your next check's coming from. And then when you finally do get a check, hell, you owe it on other stuff, and there's no certainty. There's no residual income for most real estate agents, and they have shitty attitudes because they're anxious and they're uncertain of where their next dollar's coming from. Fuck, if I didn't know where my next dollar was coming from, I'd have a shitty attitude as well. It's scary. That's that scarcity mindset. But when you start making power moves, things last forever. So I'm going to give you 4 power moves today, things that you can do that are absolutely free. Things that you can do that will go and live on forever. And just like the sun took 6.8 billion years in order to become that powerful, it took me 10 years to become this powerful making these moves, but there ain't too many people that do the amount of money that I do. I have 6 employees and do over $10 million a year. Not no real estate $10 million a year. I sell logins and passwords, ladies and gentlemen. 73% margin. Okay, and I still got the first dime that I ever fucking made. I'm just that guy. Power move number 1 is to get other people talking about you. You know what's better than telling, like when we run ads, I don't run the ads for myself and go, hey, I'm Ryan Stewman and I can change your life. I put somebody there telling that story for me. Let me tell you about this guy I know, Ryan Stewman, who changed my life. When you get somebody else talking for you, it carries more weight. It's called Social Proof. One of the best sales books ever written is called Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini. One of the core foundations of influence is social proof. If I was to yell fire and take off running, you wouldn't have to look around for where the fire's at. You just get the hell up and get out of here. That's social proof. So helpareporter.com. That's a place, we call it Haro. You can sign up for free as a source. And you set up, and here's what you need to do. You need to check every single box. It'll send you 2 emails a day. And in the emails, it's reporters that are looking for sources. They ask you questions about business, personal development, real estate. And guess what? If you go and you click the link, it tells you exactly what they're looking for, and you just reply to it in the email in a matter of seconds, and sometimes you get published. I've been in Forbes magazine over 150 times. I've been in TheStreet.com, Huffington Post, Entrepreneur, Inc. magazine, you name it, I've been in it. They never paid shit for any of them. Matter of fact, I have an office with 5 plaques from Forbes appreciation for me. And I've never paid for PR. It all started right here with helpareporterout.com. But again, it's power moves that you make daily. This isn't some shit that you read one email, answer one question, and go, oh, fuck it, don't work. What if I'd have done that with my podcast? My first podcast, just a few listeners. My second podcast, 0 listeners. You know how many downloads my podcast gets a month now? 2.5 fucking million. What if I'd have quit back in 2011? I have done over 3,000 podcasts, you guys. When I commit to something, I told you I'm a man of my word. When I commit to something, I get prolific at it. And guess what? Even if one person listens to one of those things every month, that's 3,000 fucking new people coming into my fucking circle. Think about that. That's a power move. I ain't making cold calls. I ain't made a cold call since 2005. So, helpareporter.com. Sign up, fill it out every day. Here's how they're not going to tell you if they published your shit or not. It just happens. They don't send you an email going, you were published. So what you do is you go to Google Alerts and you sign up an alert for your name. And so once a week, you set it up to where it'll email the shit out of you if you don't do it this way. Set it up to where once a week it sends you an email with all the times that your name, and if your name's Robert Smith, I apologize, it makes life really fucking hard on you. But, you know, if you have there's only like 6 Stewmans in the world. Sounds like everybody, you know, I know people named Stewman, you don't. And what's crazy is I just adopted my middle son. I'm adopted, and that asshole that adopted me was adopted too, so none of us know who the fuck we are. I told him, son, he said, I'm going to be a Stewman. That's awesome. I said, son, None of us know who the fuck we are, including the guy that fucking adopted me. But I said, here's the deal. It's not the name that we're given that matters. It's the name we make for ourselves that matters. And you're a Stewman now, which means you have to represent us. And I had that talk with my middle son, and he went from having a lot of problems in school to I just got an email this week saying he has become a model citizen and a leader in the class because he's decided that he's going to live that name out. I fucking get a little cheered up. Promise, not a little bitch. So, help a reporter, absolutely free. Set up a Google alert for your name so you get notified when they actually talk about you. That's how you know it's actually working. The second thing is medium.com. You need to become a blogger. But you don't have to get a WordPress. You don't have to be all fancy. You don't even have to have writing skills. John kind of stole my thunder this morning. He said, go to rev.com. So voice it into your phone. Go to rev.com, have them transcribe it, pay somebody in the Philippines $3 to edit it off of like Fiverr or something like that, and then post it on Medium. Anybody, anytime, anywhere, any place for free on medium.com. Most people don't realize that. They think you have to be a reporter to write for Medium. Nope. One thing y'all also didn't realize is all that bullshit that was on Huffington Post all those years, they would let anybody log in for free and write there too. I know because I used to write Donald Trump articles just to troll them. Thought it was hilarious. They're always writing anti-stuff, so I was the troll. They kicked me off after a while though. But anyway, so medium.com, free place to get a blog. And you don't have to be a writer. Me, I write 10,000 words a day. You know why? Because practice makes perfect. And anybody that reads my shit, I don't know anybody who's a better writer than me. Do you, John? You know somebody maybe a more prolific writer than me?
I told Adam Contos, your secret superpower weapon, if he doesn't bring it up, I'm going to bring it up before you leave the stage. Best fucking copywriter on the planet.
And hey, 8th grade education, ladies and gentlemen. My English teacher did not teach me to write. It's daily practice. And guess what? I'm circulating content right now that I wrote in 2013, and people are going, holy shit, this is amazing. The great news is in 2013, nobody read the shit. So I get to reuse it again. That's a power move. It's living on forever. I'm getting to repurpose it, right? And so we think, oh, nobody listened to my podcast. Nobody read my article. That's going to benefit you if you stick to it in the future, because then when people do know who you are and they actually are paying attention to you, you've already got shit to give them when you're out of ideas. So medium.com, another free source. The third is you need to start a podcast. Podcast, you can use this app called Anchor. It's in the iTunes store. It's 100% for free. All you got to do is just hold your mouth up to the phone, talk into it, and magic gnomes and elves do their shit, and it shows up on iTunes, right? I guess I left my phone over there, but it's okay. Oh, yeah, it's streaming. Oh, yeah, you got my phone. I always do this. It's like the 10th time I've done this, recording it and forget that I don't have my phone. So, but on my phone, I've done 492 episodes of my Rewire podcast. It's 5 minutes. People listen to it first thing in the morning. It's a positive message, positive mindset thing first thing in the morning that everybody listens to. It's the one that I get 2.5 million downloads a month on. I do that from my phone. 2.5, it's just like John said. You know, he doesn't have an intro. I do. I'm a little fancy, I'm a little bougie. But I got an intro and all that. But he's like, man, people love it. So I got this little 5 to 7 minute podcast that I do every single day. I'm almost at episode number 500, and I've recorded every one of them from my iPhone. No fancy microphone, no fancy setup. I have all that shit too. I still don't even use it. I use my phone. I get an idea, I write it down in my Evernote, in my notes, and then one day a week on Sunday, I go in my office and I record 5 episodes from the notes that I wrote in the topics, and I'm done. 30 minutes worth of work. I've got 5 podcasts going out each week, 2.5 million downloads. I get at least 500 people a day going, that shit was fire. You changed my life today. I'm going to give my life to God. I'm going to get my mind right. I'm going to live by the G code. I'm going to represent. I'm going to be the greatest version of myself every day. And man, if that ain't bigger to you than a paycheck, you're in the wrong industry, man. You know, I'm a big believer in giving 80 and asking 20. A lot of people rolling around asking for 80, not giving shit. But I give 80% more than I ask for. Matter of fact, if you want to work with me, if you want to be a client, I never hit you up in your DM. I barely email people. You're going to have to come to me just like I had to go to John. John ain't going to slide in your email and be like, hey, man, do you need coaching? He ain't going to do that. He's making power moves. You listen to his podcast, you're like, you're my fucking guy. How do I get in line with you? Same thing with y'all. If people don't know who you are, then how are they going to know, like, and trust you? And that's what it is. We're all in sales, whether you want to realize it or not. The first thing they got to do is know you. And then once they know who you are, they got to decide if they like you. So if they listen to your podcast, if they read your blogs, if they do all this stuff, then they can make those decisions. And not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. You're going to have to learn to accept that too. But those that are for you will get down with you for life if you do it right. The fourth thing, disclaimer, this might cost you some money, just a little bit. I own a company called Phone Sites. ClickFunnels, lead pages, all that stuff's great. But we can all admit it's confusing and hard, and there's a hell of a learning curve behind it. Most of you are like, I know I need a sales funnel. I know that when I make a podcast, I need a call to action, right? So like my podcast, my call to action on my podcast is if you like this episode, make sure that you share it. Also make sure that you leave us a review on iTunes, share it on email, social media, text message, DM, send it to a friend, tie it to a leg of a pigeon, send it in the air, whatever you got to do. And last but not least, if you want to go from 0 where you're at right now to 100% of your capacity, go to gcode.phonesites.com. People listen to the podcast, they make a decision that they want to do that, they go to the website, they give me their name, their email, their address, their phone number, and all of a sudden they're using my app, getting to know me. But you got to have a way to collect data. Data is the most valuable resource in the world. It's worth more than oil. Google it. I ain't bullshitting. You know why? Because if I put oil in my McLaren 720, crank it up, and do a couple 100 miles an hour, which if the cops are listening, I would never do that. So if I decide to launch my McLaren and go 40 and make sure that I'm abiding by the speed limit, then, it burns that gas and it's gone. Once it's extracted, drilled, all that stuff, and burned in my car, it's gone. But guess what? Once I have your email address, I can email you today, tomorrow, a year from now. You can unsubscribe. I can still fucking email you. You know how it works, right? Once I got you, right? I can sell you a t-shirt. I can sell you a digital product. I can sell you to hire me to be your coach. I can sell you on anything because I got your information. But if you're not collecting data in your business right now, whether it's agents or clients, you're a dinosaur. You need to either embrace technology or be erased by technology, ladies and gentlemen. So those of you that are out there saying, first of all, we live by the FYE lifestyle. That stands for fuck your excuses. So for those of you sitting out there saying, I'm not techie, you better get techie. We are merging with machine. And if you don't merge, you'll be left behind. When the auto workers merged with machines back in the 90s, the people that stayed on the job that still work for the Auto Worker Association are the people that learned to work the machines, not the people that were replaced by them. Think about that. Same for your business. Zillow, Open Door, they're coming for your ass. Y'all like to live in denial, but as an outsider, they're coming for you. And if you don't learn to merge with them and compete with them, they will beat you. And so Phone Sites gives you the ability to create a landing page and a funnel and whatever the hell kind of website that you could possibly think of within about 5 minutes from your phone without downloading an app, without anything. You can literally you walk up to a listing appointment, take a picture of the house outside, 5 minutes later you make a little funnel for the house, walk up and go in. As soon as you sign these listing papers, what I'll do is I'll post this and collect data and get people to the open house this weekend from my social media post. Think of the power of that. Think of the power of teaching your team that. Right? Like most of you are leaders, so you're probably not going on listing appointments and stuff. You're looking to build a team, but think of empowering your team with the stuff that I just shared with you, and feel free to do that. Right? It shouldn't just be you doing this stuff. In my business, I tell my employees, we're all leaders. Y'all lead me just like I lead y'all. And together we lead the world. We lead the world for change. We lead the world for what's good, and we have to be the shining example that they want to see. It can't just be relying on me. It can't. That if it's meant to be, it's up to me is bullshit. Right? If it's too much, it's meant for us. That's the fucking way we got to think about it. We got to be together as a team. So think about this. Once a day, you check Haro. You reply to a few emails on there. Once a week, you write something for Medium. Once a week, you do a podcast. Now listen, if you think about any programming, like I love Rick and Morty. Any Rick and Morty fans in here? Ain't very many. You got to be smart to get it, so I'll forgive you guys. But if you don't know what it is, you got to watch it. You literally have to be a genius to find comics. So this is how you do the dumb test. You watch an episode of Rick and Morty. If it's not funny, you're dumb. And so, just being real with you. But I love Rick and Morty, but I know that it comes on Sunday nights at 10 o'clock. If I didn't know when Rick and Morty came out, how the hell would I know to make sure that I recorded it? How would I know to make sure that I'm awake for it, right? So some of y'all going, well, I'm going to do a podcast this Monday, and then a week later, you're like, I'll throw a podcast up today. No, hell no. We've been sick with the Hardcore Closer. I just did episode 200 this week of Hardcore Closer. We've done it every Thursday for 200 fucking weeks in a row that comes out at 10 a.m. regularly scheduled programming. Matter of fact, this Monday, I slept in with my kids. My wife was in Kansas, and I kept the boys. And which is always funny because people ask me when I hang out with my sons, they're like, where is their mom? It's like, she's still around. We're still married. She's just up with her family, right? And so my sons, they all piled in the bed, and we slept together. I have a 7, 8, and a 2-year-old son, right? I'm a kingmaker. That's actually what my pastor has deemed me as and what it says on my license plate. I make kings. And so I have my 3 kings and the princes, in this case, in the bed with me, and I slept until 7:30. 2 of my clients called my trainer and called 2 other friends to ask if they'd heard from me because I forgot to post on Facebook at 6:30 in the morning. Is Stewman okay? Shit, have you heard from him? Meanwhile, I'm snoring it up, sleeping with the boys all warm and shit, and I woke up, my text messages were blown up. People were worried about me because I fucked up my regularly scheduled programming. That's consistency, and consistency leads to certainty. That's how you should be too. So if you're gonna commit to these things, don't commit to doing them once, commit to doing them for life, even when people don't listen to them, because that second episode got 0 listens, but my last one got 250,000 listens on day 1. If I'd have quit and gone, oh shit, I suck on episode number 2, I wouldn't be changing and transforming the world the way that I am today. So create a regularly scheduled process that you do these things. And then you have unlimited stuff that you can do with phone sites too. So here's what I'm gonna ask you, and I'm gonna get the hell off the stage because I probably have stayed up here way too damn long, and I don't wanna piss John off, but I really wanted to deliver today. But what are you gonna do? Which power move are you gonna pick? Are you guys gonna do this stuff? And not just once, right? Not just dip a toe in it. You know what toe dippers are for? It ain't for swimmers. If you I'm about to go with Steve Weatherford and a bunch of other famous people and the CEO of entrepreneur.com and jump off of a cold ass mountain in Utah into freezing ass water, right? You ain't no dipping your toes in that shit. You won't get in. You dip a toe in that cold ass water, the rest of your body ain't going in there. You just got to take the leap and get off there and get in it. So I'm gonna challenge you this. 2 things and I'm done. Start living by the G code. It will change your life. But it's just like all these power moves. It won't change it overnight. In 21 days, you'll have created a habit. In 60 days, you'll lock it in. 6 months from now, when you're at 500-600 points, you'll look back and wonder how the fuck you function the way that you function right now, living your life the way you live it right now. It will transform your life. A year from now, you won't believe that you used to be that person. I'm living proof of it. And you don't have to be an ex-degenerate like I am. Many of you in this room are awesome people, so imagine when you become the most elite version of yourself. And second, commit to making these power moves, because guess what? The rest of your industry ain't doing it. And it doesn't matter if all of you start a podcast, there's plenty to go around. And so thank you guys very much. Love you, man.
Y'all got any questions for him?
Questions?
Any questions? Scared to ask? That's what the fuck happens, man. They don't ask us questions, man.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I want to be called an idiot. I've never done that, But if you have questions, you can always send me DMs on Facebook and stuff like that too. I'm the profile with the blue check on all the social media stuff, so that's how you know it's really me. And I personally answer those DMs. It's not somebody I pay or anything like that. Just hit me up. So if you have any questions that way, if you have private stuff, so.
I'll get Daryl 1 second. A couple things, and he's humble just like Todd. Todd's going with them too. They're going to go hang with Wim Hof.
Yeah, I didn't know Todd was going. That's awesome.
Well, no, Todd's negotiating with his wife because Weatherford said he went into convulsions. Did you know that?
No, but I'm not
Weatherford
scared.
went into
I've already done that,
convulsions
the cocaine overdose. I'm used to it.
Okay, so you're good. Yeah, no problem. That's the one thing. Here's the other thing that I just need you to do. How many of you heard me just our leader circle hears me just go neurotic about copywriting, right? Every choice you freaking make is based on the words you say, the words you hear. You need to watch every morning. Watch his posts. And he's going to take you right down. He's just going to take you, it's beautiful. He just takes you right down at the very end, and he just, at the end, pivots. And you might want to do this. It's ridiculous.
I appreciate that, man.
Ridiculous. Who's watched, observes Ryan's, any of you guys watch his copywriting? Adam.
Dude, that's great. There's a room full of people that don't know me. I'm nice to meet y'all.
No,
that's awesome.
You need to follow him. Where is it? Is it because it just comes and I see it. Is it on your personal page where you write your long copy every morning?
Personal page. Yep.
Yeah. Just watch his post in the morning and just read it. But then what you got to do is stop reading shit. Study it. There's a science to what he's doing, man. He's giving you a framework. Adam.
You brought it up, so.
It's my fault now. See how that shit works?
Mm-hmm.
No, fucking CEO.
Better you than me.
This is important. I mean, of all the things out there, this is what our customers look at. This is their first impression of us, is how you start your communication with them, where it goes, how it makes them feel, things like that. And there's a lot that goes through your head, as there is a lot that goes through John's head when you guys are creating copy. So, I mean, 2-3 minutes. Can you give us just what's on your mind on this? Give us a quick master class on how do you create this, because I'll tell you, I've studied copywriting a lot. I used to run our marketing department. I mean, this is good shit here, and we can't miss this.
Yeah, the simple framework of your copy that we read in the morning. So this was beautiful. What Adam asked him to do is take what I asked you to read and just give you some principles. What's
It's
going on?
very simple. We have a process called the E3 method. Write this shit down. The E3 method. There's 2 things I'll teach you on this. It's super easy. This is like save you tens of thousands of hours and dollars too. So the E3 methods, we all have experiences, and we doubt these experiences. The shit that you go through as a real estate agent, as a real estate recruiter, like the world wants to know about it. You know how I know? Because every motherfucking show on television is flip this, flip off, flip or fuck, or flip or, like they're obviously interested in fucking real estate or there wouldn't be 100 shows on TV about it, right? So you guys are in an interesting industry. That's what's awesome, first of all, right? So you have experiences that people want to know about. They want to know about the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And matter of fact, if you're always sharing the good, people get tired of that shit. So here's the E3 method. You have an experience. Okay? Could be an idea that comes to you. Could be something that happened with another agent. It could be, and you don't have to use names. You just tell stories. Then you extract the lesson from the experience, right? So let's say this morning on the way over here, Justin was walking too. And so I had an experience here as I'm walking, and there's a dude that did, what, $600 million in production or something like that last year, some crazy number that's walking out the same time as me. So I have this experience. What would the extraction of the lesson be? Man, maybe, you know what, when 2 champions show up an hour earlier together because winners go together first, right? Winners show up first. Winners are the first ones in the room. The champions do more than anybody else. Tom Brady's a good example of that. So I could take that and say, this morning, I left my hotel. I walked across the street in the rain and the cold. And I was thinking about how I was going to get on stage and entertain these people today. And as I approached the building that I was going into to get on the stage, the top producer in the room just happened to walk out of there too. It was almost as like 2 magnets attracting to each other. It was almost as like both of us were on the same wavelength. And because of that, I realized that champions get up and show up early while nobody else was in the room. Me and Justin were the guys that were headed down there together. Why? Because that's why we're champions, and we've shown up earlier and faster than everybody else. That's how you do it. Experience, extract the lesson, educate the audience on that lesson. Here's the second part of that equation. It's called M3. It's called the media marketing method. You see, the media, if you read a newspaper, 5 or 6 pages, 1 or 2 pages of ads. Magazine, 5 or 6 pages, 1 or 2 pages of ads. Google, 5 or 6 fucking ads, and then the rest of the page is organic result. Facebook, 5 or 6 friends post and 1 ad. You guys getting a pattern here? TV, 10 minutes of programming, 2 minutes of ads. Radio, 20 minutes of programming, 4 minutes of ads. You guys seeing a plan here? Matter of fact, it was written on the papyrus papers back in the pyramid days of Egypt that they would proclaim what they needed to do, and then the call to action at the bottom, the last 20% was if you wanted to be a slave, come down to the pyramids. I shit you not. You can look this stuff up. The media's been following this since the fucking dawn of time. We don't even know how the fucking pyramids got here, but they were selling that shit, right? Somebody had to convince them to do it, And so what we do is 80% of it needs to be that E3 method. 80% needs to be experiences, education, entertainment that we're giving our audience, and 20% needs to be talking about our business. You see, guess what? We need people to know us, and then we need them to like us, and then we need them to trust us. But if they know us and they only know the business side of us, if I just know someone in a business relationship, do I really know them? If I just knew John as a real estate recruiter, would I really know him? Hell no, I'd know 25% of him, wouldn't I? So I wouldn't really know him. And so what we've got to do is we've got to follow this. 80% just needs to be stories about your kids, about your life, pictures, the things that you do, the experiences that you have. 20% needs to be about your business, and it doesn't even have to be a call to action. It can be, here's a house for sale, but if that's all you ever fucking post on Facebook, man, you are going to bore the shit out of people. That's not how it works. Instead, what you got to do is you got to have 80% engaging, entertaining, and educating content, and 20% where you're actually talking about something that might cause people to come in. But here's why most people don't do this. Yesterday, I posted 212 comments in an hour, right? The post before that was actually my 20% post where I asked people to get on go to the retreat in Cabo that we're doing. It only got 40 likes. My average post gets 400 or 500 likes on Facebook on my personal page, but every time I post business, it only gets 40 to 150 if I'm lucky. And I understand that just like people get up and go take a piss during the commercials every other time of the year other than the Super Bowl, I understand that people aren't going to like my advertisements as much as they like my entertainment, but that doesn't keep me from doing it. So hopefully that helps with the process and the creativity process there. Get a little fired up about that, if you can't tell.
Awesome.
We done?
He wants to catch
Okay.
a bite.
No, I don't have, I'm up here. I just don't want to take away from the time that you had allotted, so.
Anything else, you guys?
What was that G code? What was the?
It's gcode.phonesites.com. The reason why I obviously subliminally advertising 20% of that is my advertisement for phone sites. So that's why I left it that way instead of making it one domain. gcode.phonesites.com.
Is that Chekhov?
Yeah.
Thanks so much, man. It's really great today. We have a friend in common, Dustin Black. I don't know if he's in the room.
Yeah, he's
always
in the back somewhere.
bouncing around. But fortunately, he's a client of Gary and I's. But can you selfishly just frame up a little bit of your experience with him? Because he's such an impressive guy himself. Just kind of wanted to understand your relationship a little bit.
Well, so Dustin and I and another gentleman all started our business about the same time. We're all from the same town. And actually, the way I met Dustin was I was calling. My power move back in the day was to call a broker and get in front of the broker, and they introduced me to the agents. That was my power move back in the day, right? And so there was a guy named Jason Anderson who I think did the franchise stuff for Black Tie Moving now. So I called Jason Anderson, who was featured in like Forbes or something like that, and he said, you know what, here's my loan officer, this guy named Dustin, you need to meet him. And normally a loan officer wouldn't go meet another loan officer, but I always look at it this way, it's like he might have been my competition, but at the same time, he's working with the guy that I want to work with, so I'd like to know what he did. So I went and asked Dustin to meet up with me. Dustin's one of the nicest, most loving people I've ever met. I didn't know this at that time, but he met up with me. Instantly, man, we formed a bond and we built our businesses side by side. He supported me along the way. He's moved me. Dustin, how many times have you moved me? 100? Fuck, I move around a lot. And so I actually paid him the last time because I felt so bad. The guys were like, it's on us. And I'm like, dude, y'all got to take at least $5,000, dude. I'm like, y'all have moved me too many times. And he was one of my first customers in social media. And so one of the things I got to know him really well was I controlled his social media. You know, and so I got to see all the messages. It wasn't a bunch of messages of haters like some of the agents and stuff that I did. A lot of the messages were people that didn't like him. Oh, you think you're somebody now. Most of Dustin's messages were like, hey, I'm proud of you. You're doing a great job. You inspire me. And I thought, man, this dude's just walked around and inspired a whole bunch of people. And those are the type of people I want to be around. Last night when I got in this car, the first thing, you know, outside of everybody else, and Todd was in the backseat, the first thing he said, man, I'm proud of you, brother. He goes, and I see that you gave your life to Jesus again. I'm proud of you. You know, and dude, I just want champions in my circle, man. So you're not going to find too many people better than him or John, you know. I'll take that referral fee when you're ready, Dustin.
Mark Z.
As you were building your influencer status, when did you see the breakthrough? You know, as you're doing this, you're building. When did it just bust up, like just break apart, where it was like, just boom?
It didn't.
It never did.
You shouldn't expect that. The days of going viral on the internet are done. If you expect to go viral and have what's happened is, and I just talked about this on my coaching call this week, and you're from Detroit, right? Somewhere up there? Yeah, I've been following you for a long time, man. So one of the things, congratulations on all your success, by the way, man. You're inspiring. And so one of the things that I look back is like, we can only track success in the past, right? And so what happens is, I was just talking about this, people fall off the wagon. Right? When you fall off the wagon, it hurts, right? Like if you fall off this right now, I'm 40 years old, that shit hurts. Maybe not as much as flipping an ATV, but it hurts. And so we fall off the wagon, it hurts. But most people, they don't grow. They build their stuff up and they fall off the wagon and they got to rebuild. And so what I did was I just kept going. But I can look back last year and I can look back 3 years ago and see that my average post got maybe 50, 60 likes. And then I can see the next year that it got, you know, my average post maybe 100 likes. And then the next year, and now this year, I've got, you know, hell, I've helped 17,000 people. So I don't know why the fuck I don't have 17,000 likes every time I do something, but whatever. But it's just, it's that. It's just a little bit year over year. And so I look back and I can say my average post right now in 2020 is getting about 500 or 600 likes, where it was about 250 last year. But if I didn't have the ability to go back and look at that stuff, I'd never know. But I only know one person, and I know a ton of famous internet marketers. That's my crowd. They either love me or hate me because I don't need any of them, right? And so I've never been supported by any of them. I'm just a self-promoting dude, you know? And so, but I only know one person that's ever went viral, and that's my buddy Sean Whalen. And I don't know nobody whose stuff's, we're all doing the same stuff. We're all doing podcasts. We're all doing that, so it's hard to make something stand out. Even my good friend Ed Milet, the way that he stood out and went viral so much is he's rich as shit, and he just dumped a whole bunch of money into it and said, here's what we're going to do to take it over. So if you want to blow up overnight, it takes a whole bunch of money. If you want to make power moves like what I'm talking about here, man, it's just small bits of growth. Just like your real estate brokerage. You didn't come out the first year and do hundreds of millions of dollars. That shit takes place over a 5-6 year period of time, and you look back and you're like, shit, we 9-figure producers now, damn. But what if you just decided that you're okay at 8? Or if you decided that it was okay to close a couple deals a month, you know what I mean? So it's that same exact process, just online through how you do it. But the days of going viral and shit, just, I don't think they're around anymore. You'd have to do something super, super fucking creative. And usually what goes viral is something that's entertaining, something that's stupid, like the Chewbacca mask type of shit, you know, TikTok type of stuff. So I wish I could tell you, it's like there was this one thing I said, but it wasn't, you know?
I'm sorry, guys. Could you keep me here all day? Yeah. And the great news is we've got many great high caliber speakers too. I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate y'all letting me up here.
Travel safe, brother.